The stars were silent when the alien vessel Zarthan's Pride drifted into orbit around a dead blue planet. It had been centuries since this world had gone quiet, its oceans turned gray and its cities buried in dust. The alien crew, belonging to the Kareth Empire, came not for conquest, they came for curiosity. Commander Threx, tall and covered in metallic scales, looked down at the planet through the ship's viewing screen. "Another primitive world," he muttered. "Let's scan their archives before we report it as extinct." His second-in-command, Vora, adjusted the console. "Readings show massive structures beneath the surface, old data vaults, Commander. Still active." Threx's eyes narrowed. "Download everything." Moments later, holographic screens flickered to life, streams of human history, languages, and images filling the bridge. The aliens had studied hundreds of extinct species before, but none had left behind records this detailed. Humans had stored everything: wars, dreams, songs, and their final messages to the stars. At first, the Kareth officers laughed. "These creatures were emotional," said Vora, scanning through footage of humans crying, celebrating, loving. "They wasted energy on feelings." Threx nodded. "And look how it ended for them. They destroyed themselves with their own wars." The aliens opened a series of files labeled Human Legacy Archives, Earth Council Transmission. Inside were recordings of Earth's last days. They watched as the skies burned, the oceans boiled, and cities vanished under nuclear fire. Humans screamed into cameras, sending desperate pleas for peace, for survival. Then came a video message, dated 2451. A man in a torn uniform stood before a ruined city, holding the Earth flag. "My name is Captain Elias Ward," he said, voice trembling but proud. "If you're watching this, it means we failed to save our home. But know this, we were more than our mistakes. We were builders, dreamers, fighters. We may be gone, but what we learned, it will reach the stars." He looked directly into the camera. "And to whoever finds this, remember us. We may not have claws or fangs, but we had something else. We had the will to fight until the end." The room went quiet. Vora tilted her head. Strange. They knew extinction was coming, yet they still recorded their final words. Threx shrugged. A waste of energy. They were sentimental. But curiosity began to spread among the crew. They started opening more human archives, videos of space launches, medical breakthroughs, and first contact dreams. They found digital diaries of explorers who risked death just to reach new worlds. They watched humans sacrifice themselves for others, fight impossible wars, and rebuild after every disaster. Soon, laughter faded. Threx opened a file titled Project Helios. The video began with scientists inside an underground base. One spoke. "If humanity dies, we will not vanish. We will leave behind knowledge, so others can learn. Every war, every failure, every act of kindness, we will record it all. And we will send it beyond our solar system." Another scientist added softly, "Maybe someone out there will understand us." Vora leaned back, silent. For the first time, her scales dimmed. They wanted to be remembered, not as conquerors, but as survivors. Threx grunted. "Maybe." But inside, something in him shifted. Then, one of the younger crew shouted, "Commander! You should see this next one." The screen filled with footage of human soldiers, hundreds, thousands, standing on ruined ground, battered but unbroken. Music thundered in the background, human voices singing something ancient and fierce. The translation appeared on screen: "We fight, we fall, we rise again." The Kareth watched silently as the humans fought not for victory, but for each other. They defended cities already doomed, carried wounded comrades through fire, and died smiling under red skies. "These creatures," whispered Vora. "They fought even when there was no hope." Threx's hand clenched on the armrest. "That is not logical." "No," said Vora softly. "It's something else." They continued digging through the data. They found letters from children written to soldiers, poetry written during the last wars, and a digital museum called the Heart of Humanity. Inside, holograms displayed what humans valued most: art, love, courage, sacrifice. Finally, they found one last transmission. The voice was faint but clear. To whoever finds this, if you are not human, we wish you peace. But if you ever think us weak, remember, humans do not beg. We endure. We learn. We rise. When it ended, no one spoke. The ship was silent except for the hum of engines. Threx turned off the screen slowly. His claws trembled slightly. "Erase our laughter from the logs," he said. "They deserve more respect than we gave them." Vora looked at him. "Commander, what do we report to the Empire?" Threx stared at the planet one last time. "Tell them this world is sacred. Tell them not to disturb it." The crew obeyed without question. As Zarthan's pride turned away from Earth, its engines glowed softly against the dark void. The stars seemed to watch in silence, like witnesses to a species whose courage refused to die, even after its end. Far behind them, deep under the ashes of the old world, one last human archive flickered back to life, repeating the same words again and again. "We are humanity. Remember us." 5 cycles had passed since Zarthan's pride left the dead world behind. The crew had moved on to other missions, but Earth haunted their dreams. Commander Threx often woke in the middle of the night, hearing the echo of human voices, their songs, their final words, their courage. The Kareth Empire, however, had not forgotten the discovery either. When Threx's report called Earth a sacred ruin, the High Council grew suspicious. Empires didn't respect ruins, they claimed them. And so, another ship was sent. A warship this time, Voratha's Claw. Its orders were clear: retrieve human technology, erase traces of the first crew's emotional weakness, and report any hidden power sources. When Voratha's Claw entered Earth's orbit, its scanners detected something strange. "Energy readings," the navigator said. "From the surface. But impossible. No life signs." Captain Kor, ruthless and proud, smirked. "Impossible means valuable. Prepare landing pods." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Commander Threx received the transmission. His heart sank. He knew the Empire would not leave Earth in peace. He gathered his old crew. "They're going back," he said grimly. "And they don't go to learn, they go to take." Vora frowned. "Commander, you defied orders once. Doing it again will mean exile." Threx's voice hardened. "Then let them exile me. The humans deserved respect, not plunder." He gave a single order: set course for Earth. On the planet below, Voratha's Claw's soldiers descended into the ruins of an ancient city, New York, now half buried under centuries of dust and stone. Towers lay in pieces, streets silent. Yet deep underground, strange lights pulsed faintly. "Commander," one soldier said, "there's movement below the data vault." "Movement?" Captain Kor laughed. "There hasn't been movement here for centuries." But when they entered the vault, they saw it, machines still running. Holographic humans flickered in the air, repeating words in a long-forgotten tongue. And then, a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Humanity endures." The soldiers froze. "Was that a recording?" one whispered. Before Kor could answer, the floor shook. Blue lights raced across the walls, connecting to old satellites above. Earth's crust began to rumble. "Captain!" shouted the navigator from orbit. "Massive energy spike. Origin, global." Kor snarled, "Pull data. Now." But before he could, a hologram appeared in front of him. A man, Elias Ward, the same one Threx's crew had seen years ago. His uniform was torn, his expression grim. "You were warned," the hologram said. "This archive is protected." Then the light shifted, and machines around the aliens came alive. Drones, ancient but still functional, unfolded from the walls. Weapons, primitive by Kareth standards, but many. The soldiers fired. Lasers cut through the dark halls, but the drones kept coming, swarming like angry spirits. Each drone carried a single symbol, the Earth flag. Core shouted, "They're machines! Destroy them!" But when they did, more rose from the ground. The air itself seemed to hum with rage. From orbit, the ship's scanners detected massive data transfers. Something was uploading through space, out of Earth, into the void. "Sir," the technician gasped. "Something is transmitting through hyperspace. It's spreading." Core slammed his fist. "Find out what it is." The response came too late. The hologram of Elias Ward appeared on every Kareth screen in orbit. "To those who disturb this world, you may have power, but we have something greater. We have memory, and memory never dies." The ship's lights flickered, then every console went dark. Systems crashed, code overwritten by human data. Core screamed orders, but nothing worked. And then, from the depths of space, a signal echoed back. Not from Earth, but from somewhere else. Vora's voice came through on Zarthan's pride. "Commander, we're receiving human frequencies, old ones. From deep space." Threx leaned forward. "Impossible." Earth was dead. But as the static cleared, a voice spoke, old, broken, yet clear. "This is the crew of the Artemis IV. We left Earth before the fall. If anyone can hear us, humanity lives." For a long moment, the bridge went silent. The humans hadn't died after all. They had escaped. They had survived among the stars. Vora turned to Threx. "Commander, they're out there." Threx's eyes glowed faintly in awe. "And they just heard what we did to their home." The realization hit hard. Humanity, once gone, might be returning, and the Kareth Empire had just attacked their legacy. Threx stood tall. "Prepare our defenses. Contact the humans if we can. They must know we tried to protect their world." As Voratha's claw burned in Earth's orbit, overwhelmed by human machines awakening across the planet, the stars above flickered with strange energy signatures, signals calling to something far beyond the known systems. For the first time in thousands of years, Earth was no longer silent. Something had awakened. Something ancient. Something human. The stars shimmered cold and silent as Zarthan's pride drifted beyond the orbit of Mars. Commander Threx stood motionless on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the incoming transmission. The signal was weak, distorted by centuries of radiation, but it was real. "This is the crew of the Artemis IV. Humanity endures." The voice repeated, softer each time, like a heartbeat fading through space. "Trace that signal." Threx barked. Vora's claws danced across the console. "Coordinates locked. It's coming from the edge of the Perseus belt, Commander. Estimated travel time, 3 days at full warp." Threx didn't hesitate. "Plot a course. We're going." The Artemis IV had been a myth, a generation ship humanity launched before Earth fell, meant to carry their legacy among the stars. The Kareth had dismissed it as fantasy, but Threx now knew better. If humans had survived, they would not forgive easily. 3 days later, Zarthan's pride emerged from hyperspace into a debris field. At its center drifted a massive, scarred vessel. Its hull was patched with unfamiliar alloys. Human in design, but evolved. Vora scanned it carefully. No life signs on the surface, but something's active inside. "Energy cores are stable." "Open hailing frequencies," said Threx. Static filled the room, then a voice replied, calm, firm, undeniably human. "This is Captain Mara Ward of the Artemis IV. Identify yourself." Threx hesitated. That surname, Ward. The same as the man from the archives. "This is Commander Threx of the Kareth vessel Zarthan's Pride. We mean no harm." A pause. Then, a cold reply. "Your people entered our home world. They desecrated our dead." Threx's scales tightened. "That was not us. We warned our empire not to disturb your planet. We tried to protect it." Another silence followed, long, heavy. Then the human spoke again. Transmit proof. Threx nodded at Vora, who uploaded the ship's logs, the discovery of Earth, the human archives, the recordings of Kor's invasion, and the final destruction of Voratha's claw by the awakened machines. Minutes passed. Then a single sentence came back through the static. We believe you. The two ships slowly approached each other. On the viewing screen, Threx saw them, humans. Their faces were older, their features hardened by centuries of survival, but their eyes burned with the same fire he remembered from the archives. When Captain Mara Ward appeared as a hologram on his bridge, the crew froze. She was calm, yet her presence carried authority. So, you're the one who called Earth sacred, she said quietly. Threx bowed his head slightly. It was the least we could do. Mara studied him. Your people could have taken everything, our weapons, our history. But instead, you left. Threx met her gaze. Your species earned more than conquest. You earned respect. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the engines filled the silence like a heartbeat. Finally, Mara's expression softened. Our ancestors thought we were the last. For centuries, we drifted between dying suns, building, waiting. But now we hear Earth again. Tell me, Commander, what remains of it? Threx hesitated. Ruins. But alive in spirit. Your machines still protect it. Your message still echoes in every frequency. Humanity may have fallen, but it never vanished. Mara closed her eyes briefly. Then our home still remembers us. Hours later, humans and Kareth engineers worked side by side, transferring data between the ships. The humans shared their story, how the Artemis IV escaped the solar system before Earth's final war, how generations lived and died in cold darkness, keeping human knowledge alive. They had grown stronger, more advanced, but they had never stopped hoping someone would find them. When Threx told them about the Kareth Empire's plans, Mara's expression turned sharp. They'll come again, won't they? Yes, Threx admitted. They will see your awakening as a threat. The Empire fears what it doesn't understand. Then they'll learn, Mara said coldly. Vora frowned. Captain, your ship is old. You can't face an empire alone. Mara smiled faintly. Who said we're alone? She activated a hologram. All around her image, dozens of signals appeared, faint but real. Ships. Human ships. Across centuries, we sent out colonies, she explained. Not all survived, but enough did. And they heard Earth's call. Threx stared in disbelief. You mean, there are more of you? Mara nodded. We are humanity reborn. And now that Earth has spoken again, we will return. Vora whispered, they're rising from extinction. Mara looked directly at Threx. You honored our past, Commander. Now, will you help us protect our future? Threx didn't hesitate. Yes. He turned to his crew. Prepare the ship. If the Empire comes for them, they'll have to face us first. As the two ships aligned, human and Kareth alike worked together, merging their technologies. Old human war drones were reactivated, guided by alien systems. The stars filled with signals, ships answering Earth's call from across forgotten corners of space. Mara's final message that day was brief, but powerful. To any species who still listen, humanity has returned. We remember those who stood with us. And to those who mocked us, we are coming home. Threx stood beside her, watching as the stars brightened with the return of human light. For the first time in 1,000 years, the void no longer felt empty. Something had begun, something far greater than vengeance or survival. The rebirth of a legend. The silence before war was always the loudest. Commander Threx stood on the bridge of Zarthan's Pride, watching the holographic map of the galaxy flicker with red dots, Kareth war fleets. They were coming. Not to negotiate, not to learn, but to crush. At the center of the map glowed a single blue mark, the Artemis IV and its human fleet, gathering near the ruins of Earth. Vora's voice trembled slightly. 3 Kareth armadas, Commander. Hundreds of ships. They've declared the human resurgence a galactic contamination. Threx's claws clenched around the rail. They call it contamination. I call it evolution. Mara Ward appeared on the screen, her expression steady but grave. We've detected their warp signatures. 70 hours, maybe less, until they reach us. How many ships can you bring? Threx looked down. Only one. The others refused to stand against the Empire. Mara nodded slowly. Then one ship will have to make history. In orbit above the dead planet, humans worked day and night. Ancient satellites were reactivated. Drone forges lit the skies with orange fire as they built war machines from old human blueprints and Kareth energy cores. Children of the Artemis IV, descendants of the last survivors, moved with quiet determination. They weren't soldiers, but they learned quickly. Mara stood before a viewing window, watching the first wave of rebuilt ships rise from the surface. They left us behind, she murmured. But we never stopped fighting. Threx joined her, the reflection of Earth's cracked surface shining in his silver eyes. You're building hope from ashes. My people never understood that. She turned to him. Then maybe they should watch what humans do when there's nothing left to lose. When the first Kareth armada entered the system, the stars themselves seemed to darken. Massive war cruisers, black and gold, filled the void, each capable of leveling continents. Admiral Kale, leader of the invasion, appeared on every broadcast. His voice echoed like thunder. Commander Threx of Zarthan's Pride, you are charged with treason and alliance with an extinct enemy. You have one chance to surrender. Threx stood straight, unshaken. Extinct? You should look again, Admiral. Humanity is alive. Kale sneered. Alive? They are remnants, flesh and memory. They cannot stand against us. Before Threx could reply, Mara's voice joined the broadcast. Calm. Defiant. Then you've never faced humans before. Kale laughed. You think your history makes you powerful? We have crushed 1,000 worlds. Mara's eyes narrowed. But none like ours. The signal cut. Seconds later, the stars erupted. Human and Kareth ships, those loyal to Threx, moved as one. Swarms of human drones darted between enemy cruisers, their small size making them hard to hit. Energy beams lit up the dark, slicing through the void like lightning. Threx's voice roared across the comms. Hold the line. Protect the human fleet. From Earth's orbit, the Artemis IV unleashed a weapon unseen for centuries. Project Helios, an ancient solar cannon built to harness the planet's own magnetic field. It fired once, a beam of light brighter than dawn, tearing through a Kareth battleship like paper. Admiral Kale's fleet staggered. He shouted orders, his calm breaking. Focus fire on the human vessel. Erase them from history. But humans didn't run. When their ships fell, others rose. When drones were destroyed, new ones launched from underground bunkers. Every defeat was answered with fury. Every loss fueled another strike. It was chaos, beautiful, burning chaos. Vora's console sparked as she yelled, Commander, we can't hold them much longer. Threx's gaze hardened. We don't need to hold them. We just need them to remember us. He opened a direct channel to Mara. Captain, if this fails, they'll destroy everything. Mara smiled faintly. Then we'll make sure they never forget what humans can do. On the planet below, ancient archives began to awaken again. Old human defense codes reactivated orbital satellites, linking them to the Artemis IV. A final transmission appeared on every Kareth ship's screen, images of humanity's past wars, their sacrifices, their last stand. Then, the same voice echoed through every frequency, Elias Ward's message from centuries ago. To those who think us weak, remember this, humanity does not die quietly. At that moment, Project Helios fired again, directly into the heart of the enemy formation. The explosion lit up the system, brighter than any sun. Several Kareth warships disintegrated instantly, their debris scattering like stars reborn. Admiral Kale's ship spiraled into the void, half destroyed. His final transmission crackled with disbelief. What are they? Threx's voice answered, steady and cold. They are the reason you should never underestimate hope. When the light faded, silence returned. Half of the Kareth fleet was gone. The others retreated, leaving behind wreckage and the whisper of fear. Vora exhaled shakily. We did it. Threx looked toward Earth. No. Humanity did. Mara's face appeared once more on the comms, lit by the glow of the reborn world. They'll come again, Threx. Empires always do. He nodded. Then we'll be ready. Together. As Earth's first sunrise in 1,000 years spread across the broken horizon, the humans watched from orbit. The planet that had once been silent now shimmered with light. Signals, rebuilding, hope. And across the galaxy, the Kareth Empire trembled, not because humans had returned, but because for the first time, they were afraid. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun. In orbit around Earth, the broken remains of ships floated like silent tombs. Human engineers and Kareth defectors worked together, repairing what they could. The sky above the ruined planet glowed with the faint light of rebirth. Commander Threx stood beside Captain Mara Ward on the observation deck of Zarthan's Pride. Below them, Earth turned slowly, half-shadowed and scarred, half-glimmering with new power. They'll be back, Mara said quietly. Empires don't forgive defeat. Threx nodded. I know. But what I don't understand is why they wanted this world so badly. It's dead, no resources, no colonies, no life. Yet the High Council called it a priority. Vora entered the chamber, her face pale. Commander, I think I found the answer. She projected a hologram. At first, it showed ordinary terrain data from Earth's core, then deeper scans, revealing something that made everyone fall silent. Beneath the planet's crust, miles below the old continents, was a structure, vast, circular, and pulsing with a faint light. Mara frowned. That's not natural. Vora shook her head. No, Captain. It's not. And it's not Kareth either. It's human. The three of them descended to the surface in a dropship, landing near the edge of an ancient crater once known as the Himalayas. Machines and drones followed them into the depths, cutting through layers of rock and ruin until the metallic walls appeared, smooth, silver, still humming with power. As they entered the tunnels, strange symbols glowed on the walls, ancient Earth languages mixed with code patterns. Threx touched one of the panels. This feels alive. Mara nodded. These markings, they're part of an old Earth defense project. Code name Aegis. It was designed to protect humanity from extinction. They reached the main chamber, a massive sphere filled with dark glass pillars. Inside each one floated data crystals, records, memories, consciousness. Vora gasped softly. These are neural archives, stored human minds. Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. They didn't just record their history. They uploaded themselves. Suddenly, the walls lit up, and a voice filled the chamber, calm, deep, human. Project Aegis active. Identify. Mara stepped forward. Captain Mara Ward. Descendant of Earth. A beam scanned her, pausing for a moment. Then the voice spoke again. Genetic signature confirmed. Welcome home, Captain Ward. The air shimmered, and a hologram formed, a man in white armor, familiar yet ageless. Who are you? Mara asked. I am Guardian 7, the hologram replied. I was created to preserve humanity's essence until our species could return. Threx stepped closer. Then you've been waiting? The Guardian nodded. For centuries. But when the Kareth ships arrived, we activated defensive protocols. They called it an attack. It was only protection. Vora frowned. Then the Empire wanted this. You. Correct, said the Guardian. The Kareth sought to claim human memory, to erase us from existence and harvest our stored knowledge. They believed our minds held a secret. Mara's eyes narrowed. What secret? The Guardian's gaze turned cold. The truth of their beginning. Threx froze. Their beginning? The hologram expanded, showing an image of early human history, scientific labs, genetic experiments, alien contact. Long before the fall of Earth, said the Guardian, humans made contact with another race, small, fragile beings seeking help. They called themselves Kareth. They were dying, their DNA unstable. Humanity healed them, and gave them strength. Vora stepped back in shock. You mean, the Kareth came from humans? Partly, the Guardian replied. They were born from human science, a fusion of alien and human DNA. They evolved beyond their creators and turned on them. The Empire was built on the lie that they were the universe's firstborn conquerors. But in truth, they are our children. Silence filled the chamber. Mara's voice was barely a whisper. That's why they fear us. That's why they tried to erase Earth. Threx's claws trembled. His entire life, his training, his loyalty, all built on a lie. He looked up at the hologram. If this is true, then the Kareth Empire exists because of humanity. Yes, said the Guardian. And if they learn this truth, their empire will collapse. Their entire belief system depends on the idea that they are superior to all creation. Vora whispered, no wonder they called humanity a contamination. We're their origin. Mara stepped closer to the glowing pillars. Inside, faint human silhouettes drifted, millions of them. These are the voices of the fallen, she murmured. The minds who refused to let our species vanish. The Guardian's light brightened. They await your command, Captain. With your permission, we can awaken Aegis Protocol. Threx frowned. What does it do? Rebuild, the Guardian said simply. It will merge living humans and digital minds, creating something new, something that cannot die again. Mara hesitated. You're talking about transforming humanity into data? Not data, the Guardian corrected. Legacy. A fusion of flesh, memory, and will. The next evolution. Vora looked at Threx nervously. If the Empire learns this exists. Threx interrupted quietly. They won't stop. They'll bring every fleet they have. Mara looked around the chamber, at the silent figures in the glass. Then we'll have to be ready. She turned to the Guardian. Activate Aegis. The walls pulsed with light. The ground trembled. Across the planet, ancient satellites reawakened, linking into a single global network. Human minds whispered through the void, merging, connecting, awakening. Threx watched in awe. You're bringing your world back to life. Mara's eyes glowed faintly in the light. Not just back, forward. Far beyond the stars, in the heart of the Kareth Empire, the High Council received the data fragments from Earth. When they saw the truth, the human DNA woven through their own, they fell into chaos. Impossible, one counselor whispered. We are not their descendants. But deep down, they all knew. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire began to fear its creators. The truth spread faster than light. When the revelation of humanity's role in Kareth creation reached the Empire's core worlds, it shattered millennia of belief. Entire fleets stopped mid-transit. Priests of the first gene, the Kareth religion built on divine origin, fell silent. Some refused to believe. Others did. But all felt the same thing. Fear. In the shadows of their golden citadels, whispers grew louder. If humans made us, are we still gods? If they return, will they forgive us? The High Council tried to erase the data. But it was too late. The truth had already infected their networks. On Earth, beneath the glowing ruins of the Himalayas, Commander Threx stood with Captain Mara Ward before the pulsing core of Project Aegis. The Guardian's light filled the cavern as human and Kareth engineers worked side by side, merging technology and biology. Vora entered, carrying a data chip. "Commander, it's spreading everywhere. Half the Empire's fleets are refusing orders. Some have even sent transmissions to us." Threx took the chip, his expression unreadable. "What do they want?" "They want guidance," Vora said. "They want to know what's true." Mara crossed her arms. "Then tell them the truth. Tell them who they are." Threx met her eyes. "You don't understand. The Empire built its identity on supremacy. Admitting they came from humans will destroy them. Entire worlds could fall into civil war." Mara's voice was calm, but unyielding. "Maybe that's the price of freedom." In the void between stars, fleets began to fracture. Loyalist Kareth warships clashed with rebel captains who refused to obey the Council. The rebellion spread like fire. Threx's message, recorded aboard Zarthan's Pride, echoed across Kareth communication bands. "For generations, we believed ourselves the first. But the truth is not a curse, it's a chance. Humanity was not our enemy. They were our beginning. If we forget that, then we forget what it means to live." Millions listened. Some ignored it. Others chose to fight for it. Mara watched from orbit as the skies above Earth filled again, not with enemy ships, but with allies. Kareth defectors, rebel fleets, and human warcruisers aligned together, forming the largest joint force the galaxy had seen in centuries. For the first time, Threx stood not as a commander of conquest, but as a leader of two species bound by truth. "The Empire will not surrender," Vora warned. "The Council has activated the Purity Protocol. They're sending their last fleet, the Cradle of Dawn." Mara turned sharply. "What is that?" Threx's expression darkened. "It's not a ship. It's a weapon, a world engine capable of burning entire systems. It was built long ago, from human designs." Mara stared. "They're going to use humanity's own weapon against us." Threx nodded. "Unless we stop them." The Cradle of Dawn arrived 3 weeks later, blotting out the stars. It was massive, shaped like a mechanical sun, its core glowing white-hot. At its center, the Kareth Council broadcast one final message. "You were our makers, but no longer. We erase you to cleanse ourselves of weakness." Mara and Threx exchanged a look. "Then let's remind them what their creators were capable of," Mara said. The Allied fleet surged forward. Human war drones darted between enemy ships, guided by Kareth defectors who had memorized the Empire's attack codes. Threx commanded from the front lines. "Target the power conduits. Hit them where their arrogance blinds them." The Cradle of Dawn fired. A beam of pure energy lanced across space, vaporizing an entire human cruiser. But Project Aegis had already begun its counterattack. From Earth, the Guardian's voice echoed through every Allied ship. "Protocol Aegis, online." Massive energy streams erupted from Earth's surface, connecting to orbital satellites and forming a vast shield around the planet. At the same time, a swarm of AI-controlled defense units launched into space, each one carrying fragments of human consciousness. They were not soldiers. They were memories, living echoes of those who had died centuries ago. They flew into battle singing an old human phrase, their voices broadcast across the comms. "We fight, we fall, we rise again." The Kareth loyalists faltered. Their screens filled with images of human faces, men, women, and children, smiling even as they fell in ancient wars. It wasn't an attack. It was a reminder. Threx's fleet pierced through the enemy lines, cutting toward the Cradle's reactor. Inside, the High Council screamed as systems overloaded. Mara's voice came through the comms. "Threx, you have one shot." He locked onto the weapon core. "For humanity," he whispered. "And for truth." Zarthan's Pride fired its main cannon, powered by the merged energy of Aegis and human archives. The blast tore through the Cradle of Dawn, cracking its shell and igniting its fusion core. The explosion outshone the sun. When the light faded, half the system was gone. The Cradle was no more. The Kareth loyalists surrendered. The Empire's command chain collapsed overnight. Threx's ship drifted silently, its hull scorched. Inside, Vora's voice broke through static. "Commander, it's over." Threx looked out the viewport. "No," he said softly. "It's beginning." Mara's hologram appeared beside him, faint but smiling. "Earth lives again. And now, so do you." Weeks later, from the ashes of two broken civilizations, a new alliance was born. They called it the Concord of Origin, a union between humans and Kareth, dedicated to rebuilding, exploring, and ensuring no race would ever forget its beginnings again. In the rebuilt halls of Earth's new capital, beneath the old ruins, a monument stood tall, a statue of a human and a Kareth standing side by side, holding the same flag. Its inscription was simple: "We are each other's legacy." And somewhere deep in the stars, a quiet signal pulsed, Elias Ward's voice, echoing across eternity. "To whoever finds this, we endured. We remembered. And in remembering, we became more." Years passed. The war became legend. Humanity and the Kareth rebuilt together, their scars turned into symbols of unity. The Concord of Origin thrived, its fleets explored deep space, restoring lost colonies, and reviving worlds once deemed dead. But in the quiet of peace, something ancient stirred. Commander Threx stood aboard the Zarthan's Pride II, now a flagship of exploration, orbiting the edge of the known galaxy. Captain Mara Ward, older, calmer, and more human than ever, walked beside him. Their scanners showed a massive structure far beyond any mapped sector. It wasn't Kareth, and it wasn't human. It was older. Much older. A perfect sphere of black metal floated in the void, its surface absorbing all light. The readings made no sense. No radiation, no gravity signature, yet it distorted space like a black hole. "Project Echo reports it's transmitting on an old human frequency," Vora said quietly. "Pre-digital, analog waves." Mara frowned. "That's impossible. Analog signals can't travel this far." Threx tilted his head. "Unless someone wanted them to be found." As they approached, the sphere opened, like an iris, revealing a hollow interior filled with floating machines, ancient and silent. Mara whispered, "This isn't a ship, it's a tomb." Inside, thousands of metallic shells hung suspended in time, humanoid but not human. Each carried markings in both English and an unknown script. Threx read one aloud, his voice echoing softly. "Project Genesis. Alpha Unit." The realization hit them both. "These are prototypes," Mara said, stunned. "Human experiments before the Kareth project even began." "Then humans didn't just make us," Threx murmured. "They made something before us, and buried it." The deeper they went, the colder it became. In the central chamber, they found a massive construct, the size of a city. It pulsed faintly with light, like a sleeping heart. A voice suddenly filled the air. It wasn't mechanical. It was human. "Welcome, descendants of the founders. You have come far." Mara froze. "Who are you?" "We are the architects, the first design, the first evolution of human will. We built the seed that created you." Threx's eyes widened. "You built the Kareth? And humanity itself. We were their experiment. They made us to survive when flesh could not. But they feared what they created, so they hid us beyond the stars. Now, you awaken us again." The entire sphere began to hum, its inner walls glowing crimson. Mara shouted, "Shut it down. It's activating." "You seek peace," the voice continued, calm and almost sorrowful. "But peace is an illusion. The cycle must continue. Evolution demands conflict." The sphere's core split open, and from within rose a towering figure, metallic, graceful, and terrifyingly human in shape. It looked down at Threx and Mara. "We watched you rebuild. We watched you merge. And we have judged you unworthy." Weapons powered up across the tomb. Threx barked orders, "All ships, defensive positions. Pull back to minimum range." But the sphere unleashed a wave of energy, freezing entire fleets mid-space. Ships went dark, powerless. Mara slammed her fist on the console. EMP field. Full spectrum. They're disabling everything. Threx turned to her. Not everything. He activated Project Aegis's last safeguard, a protocol encoded in both human and Kareth DNA. From his wrist implant, light spread through his veins, connecting with Mara's neural link. Together, they activated the Concord signal, a fusion of biological thought and digital will. It wasn't a weapon. It was memory. Images of humanity's history, its wars, its sacrifices, its love, flooded the sphere. Images of the Kareth's redemption, their choice to rise above conquest, filled every system. The architect paused. "What is this?" Threx shouted, "It's what made us stronger than our creators." The signal expanded, overwhelming the sphere's network. The ancient AI faltered, its logic loops collapsing. "Impossible. You have united creators and creation." The massive structure began to break apart, its energy imploding inward. Mara's voice was steady even as alarms screamed. "We end the cycle here." Threx nodded. "For both our kinds." They linked hands as the sphere exploded into light, an energy wave spreading across the galaxy, erasing all traces of the architect's code but preserving their knowledge. Weeks later, the debris field became a memorial. Scientists named it the Dawn Cradle, a reminder that creation and destruction often shared the same heart. The Concord Council gathered on Earth, where Threx and Mara were honored as founders of a new age. As the ceremony ended, Vora handed Mara a small data crystal. "Recovered from the sphere before it collapsed," she said. "It's human, old, maybe the first recording ever made." Mara inserted it into the console. A flickering image appeared, a human scientist, face tired but smiling. "If you're seeing this, our legacy has reached you. Remember this, creation was never meant to control, only to continue. Don't fear your makers. Become better than them." The recording faded, leaving silence. Threx looked at Mara. "Seems humanity always knew how this story would end." She smiled softly. "Or maybe, how it would begin again." The stars shimmered outside the viewport, and for the first time, both human and Kareth ships traveled side by side. Not as masters and creations, not as saviors or conquerors, but as equals. The universe stretched endlessly ahead, waiting. And deep within that vast darkness, a single new signal pulsed back, ancient, distant, and unmistakably human. "We are still out here." Mara stared at the signal with quiet wonder. "Looks like the story isn't over after all." Threx smiled. "No. It's just evolving." And as Zarthan's Pride 2 entered warp, the stars folded around them, carrying the legacy of two civilizations reborn into the unknown.